and welcome to a new video on my channel. So today I am building a small village that has about 4 houses, so it's really small. One of which might be a store later, maybe not, we will see what happens. But this is part 1 of the build because it took me 4 hours to just record this, and I somehow managed to edit it to 12 minutes, which I don't know how I did it, but here it is. Now, I always wanted to build a village in The Sims 4, but I honestly never felt very inspired to do so until now. I figured I pre-recorded and uploaded a few videos so I actually could focus on building that small village and take my time and not rush it at all, and honestly, I love the results. Well, I know I didn't furnish any of those houses yet, but I will do that eventually, and I hope they will turn out just as cute as the outside. One thing I'm usually bad at is using the terrain tool. I never got much practice with it and rarely use it, so now I don't really am good at it, you know? But I gotta give myself credit here and pat myself on the back because it doesn't look half bad at all. I even added a river and a cute little bridge that connects the village and makes it look so whimsy with the string lights and the arches and everything. Now, I noticed that I didn't leave much space on the individual hills to build houses on. So usually there's just one house on each level of the hills, but again, maybe this is not an entire village, but just a small neighborhood in said village. And also you gotta understand that this is a huge lot in Chestnut Ridge, which comes with horse ranch. I think it is 64 by 64, which is the biggest lot that you can find, I think. Using the terrain tool just takes up a lot of space though, and I didn't want the houses to be any smaller than they already are because I want the Sims to have a comfortable and quiet life. Not that you cannot have a tiny home and have a quiet and comfortable life, but the houses might not look as great. Maybe. Okay, the first house I built might be my favorite. It looks like an old farmhouse, and I just imagine that maybe an elderly farmer's couple would live here. They have their own patches out front where they can still farm their crops. They also have that little stand in front of their house where they could potentially sell all their freshly farmed food. What could be better than that? There are rocking chairs and some rustic decorations, like the haystacks in the back that you can also sit on, or that mushroom stool next to the rocking chair, and these cute little barrels. I also gave all of it cute fences, just to make it look more inviting and homey. I also realized later on that I should probably landscape and not just put decoration in front of the house, so I tried to add trees and bushes and flowers to most of the houses. They not only look good, but add dimension and shade to the lot, which is really needed, to be honest. And also I didn't know what this village would look like when I started building it, but this first house just set the tone for the rest of it. It had to be small, comfy, and very whimsical, where people would just love to live and maybe visit their family members on holiday and vacations. I made it all look kind of overgrown and also added grass textures to the floor rather than the sand that was there before. I also made sure that the village has benches and fire pits where people could sit at night and just talk about their day and enjoy each other's company. I feel like that is always important in small villages like that. People are usually friends here and help each other out where they can, which is what life should actually be like, in my humble opinion. So I just love the idea of that. Now the second house is located on the first platform on the village, so it is sort of the first house you see when you come into that village, yet it is somehow located at the side of the hill, and it's also facing the side and not the front of the hill. But to be completely honest, I don't mind the look of that in the slightest. I actually really like that small house. I imagine an adult sim living here that likes woodworking and just builds rustic furniture and sells them to the villagers or people outside it as well. He too turned his passion into his job, and there's nothing better than that, I think. See that well next to his house? I feel like he built that himself. He might even build some of the fences and other wooden structures throughout the village. Like I said, I feel like this is a community of people who mostly did and do everything themselves, including building up their small homes from scratch. Benches, fences, everything. And again, a small whimsical house would not be complete without flower boxes under the windows and other small details to just show off that rustic style. It kind of reminds me of the place that Belle from Beauty and the Beast lives in. I don't know why, but that place is also magical and whimsical. Did I mention in this video I am not great at landscaping at all? Throughout this build, I was trying to use many of the same plants to make it look like a coherent build, and it just ended up being the prairie grass and some few bushes and flowers that looked especially nice and bright and just gave this place a nice, vibrant touch. Later on, I realized that the houses would also possibly need mailboxes, so I added that to all of the houses, and this one, of course, got a mailbox that looked like the sim crafted it himself, which just adds to the lore. I also used this stony looking terrain paint to make a path with throughout the entire village, and it does look very adorable if I do say so myself. Right at the entrance of the village down at the small river or stream, I wanted there to be a place of rest and getting together and relaxing in the sun on a nice spring day or summer. So I put some of those rugs out which look like picnic blankets and some pillows to sit on. There are also benches and tables and a grill if the Sims ever get hungry, of course. And what is better than the entire village coming together, eating and hanging out on the weekends? I am only asking the extroverts here. I am an introvert myself, so I know I would enjoy other things more, but let's just ignore that. There's a fire pit again and a community board because I feel like there are the sort of community who would plan all sorts of fun events together and maybe even surrounding communities too. Then I went on to building the third house, which is less of a house and more of a tower. Don't ask me why. I felt like I want to build a tower there. I just thought it would fit the theme of the village pretty well, and honestly, I think it really does. Maybe Rapunzel's living here. Kidding. I feel like all old villages need some sort of tower or castle, at least where I am from. So there it is. Maybe it is haunted. Maybe we can put some fun old knight armor in there or other old stuff, kind of like a museum, or hear me out, a library. Maybe someone is living here still. I don't know. I haven't thought about that too much, honestly. I gotta come up with something for the tower for sure. As you can see, I struggled a bit with how the roof of the house should look like, but in the end I found a good option, I guess. And of course this place needed one thing for sure, and that is vines, and vines, and vines. Yes, this place is pretty overgrown, probably old, but it just looks so cute, right? Also, the high school years vines are just the best. Not only can you climb out of your window with them, they're also super cute. Now, all that is left to do with the house is put some benches in front and some decorations, and of course trees, bushes and flowers, and the house is good as done. This corner by the bridge was way too empty for me, so I put a few trees and flowers there and also a bench to sit down on and enjoy the shade, which you also probably need, especially if you live on top of that hill. It is a long way up there, believe me, but it is also the coolest spot to live in if you're an introvert, I think. Alright, before we move on to the last house, we also got to put some more decorations and games down here that you can play in the summer with your family and friends. I can just imagine how fun it must be living here, and I honestly mean it. I somehow crave this quiet life and community where you just can live next to your friends or family and hang out all the time and help each other out. Ugh, such a dream, don't you think? Okay, onto the house on the hill, which style-wise looks like a store, but I don't think I can put a store on the top of the hill, so there has to be someone living here. Hopefully someone young, maybe with kids that can still climb the hill and have fun up there. Also, a swing set would have looked nice next to the house. I ended up placing a fountain there, but you can always swap that out for anything else, of course. Now, the last two houses I built don't look like the first two. They look pretty unique, but then again, houses should look unique, right? How boring would it be if all houses looked the same? I wanted to try something fun with the roof at first, but then it didn't work out, so I played it safe with the normal roof I am usually doing, and it still looks very nice, I think. But nonetheless, the house still looks like an older house from the outside. Very rustic and whimsy with big windows and shutters on them. I was always obsessed with shutters like that are usually found on old houses. They are such an adorable detail and just make the house look so much better. Then came my most favorite part ever. Landscaping, yay! And again, I used plants I used everywhere else in this village to make it look coherent. Honestly, I changed my mind. I feel like either this house or the house with the tower might be my favorite. Ugh, why are they all so adorable and unique? Okay, now don't sound too full of yourself, girl. You built them all yourself, alright? Right. Some trees and bushes to make it look more realistic, and then we can move on to the incredibly long hill. So again, the same terrain paint down the hill and also the same fences I used everywhere else. I don't know why, but I like them the best for houses like that. The outside of the hill has just a few bushes and plants and trees, while the other side will have so many wildflowers growing there. I imagine that the people who live there just let the flowers grow for the bees and other small insects to live and have fun there, which is very considerate of them. You should do the same if you have a garden, by the way. Don't always mow the lawn. Let flowers and grass grow for the insect and especially bees. We cannot survive without them. Alright, now this video is long enough and I really have said it all, so thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you liked that video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and comment down below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.